It all started when I moved into a new apartment complex on the outskirts of town. The place was old, but affordable, and perfect for someone like me who just needed a fresh start. The neighborhood was quiet, maybe too quiet. Most of the tenants kept to themselves, and the walls were thin enough to hear the faintest whispers. My next-door neighbor was a man I never saw during the day. The only time I noticed any sign of life from his apartment was late at night. I'd sometimes hear the faint sound of a television or the shuffling of papers, but he never once came out to say hello or introduce himself. At first, I thought maybe he was just shy or had a strange schedule. But as days turned into weeks, I started to feel uneasy. The silence wasn't just quiet, it was oppressive. One night, I was lying in bed when I heard it. A soft tapping noise coming from the wall that separated our apartments. It was rhythmic, almost like someone was trying to communicate. I pressed my ear against the wall, but the tapping stopped as soon as I did. The next night, the tapping returned, this time accompanied by a faint whisper. It was so quiet, I couldn't make out the words, but it sent chills down my spine. I tried to ignore it, convincing myself it was just my imagination or the old building settling. But the tapping continued every night, growing louder and more insistent. And one evening, I heard something that made my blood run cold. A low, guttural growl coming from the other side of the wall. I decided to find out what was going on. I knocked on my neighbor's door during the day, but there was no answer. The door was locked, and the mailbox was overflowing with unopened letters. It was as if no one had lived there weeks. Curious and increasingly worried, I asked the building manager about him. She told me that the man had moved in a few months ago, but had never paid rent or signed any official paperwork. Previous tenants had complained about strange noises and odd smells coming from his apartment, so the manager had tried to evict him, but the man never responded to any notices. Something wasn't right. One night, armed with a flashlight and a sense of dread, I decided to peek through the peephole of his door. What I saw made me freeze. The apartment was completely dark, except for a faint glow coming from the living room. My eyes adjusted. I saw the silhouette of the man sitting in a chair, facing the wall. His head was tilted unnaturally, and his body was completely still. Suddenly, he turned his head slowly toward the door. I couldn't see his face clearly, but his eyes, oh God, his eyes, were completely black, void of any humanity. I stumbled back, heart pounding, and slammed my door shut. That night, the tapping turned into pounding. The wall seemed to vibrate with a terrifying energy. I couldn't sleep. At one point, I heard the doorknob on my apartment jiggle violently, as if someone or something was trying to get in. I called the police, but when they arrived, the neighbor's door was wide open. The apartment was empty. No furniture, no belongings, just an empty shell. It was as if the man had never existed. The police found no evidence of anyone living there. No fingerprints, no DNA, nothing. The building manager was baffled. The neighbors claimed that they never saw or heard anything unusual. But I knew the truth. Moved out the next day. I couldn't stay in a place where something so dark and unnatural had taken root. But even now, months later, I sometimes hear tapping on my new apartment walls. And sometimes, just sometimes, I catch a glimpse of those black eyes watching me from the shadows. So if you ever move into a new place and your neighbor is too silent, too strange, remember this story. Some doors are better left unopened, and some neighbors are better left unknown. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more chilling tales. And remember, sometimes the scariest monsters live right next door.